What up, virtual people? Welcome to the 127th episode of VCR Redux. We take your favorite franchises out of the analog era and bring them back to 2023. I'm your host, pop culture punk Chris Stiles, joined as always by my co-host with the most, film professor Ian Klink.
How you doing, everybody?
And we have two radical guests on the show tonight. First up, he's becoming quite the VCR veteran from Crash Romeo and Best Around. Steve Anderson is back on the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me back.
And rounding out this righteous crew, founder of Fandom Spotlite and our very own governor himself, Captain Kyle Williamson, is finally back on the show.
I'm Kyle.
Howdy ho there, neighbors.
Thank you so much for coming on, guys. We are here today to hype up some hieroglyphics, to drink a big glass of Spaderade, and to put some hustle behind this rustle. That's right, folks. This world needs Stargate 2 Electric Boogaloo, and we're here to give it to you. But before Ian dies of happiness, we got a dish on how Stargate came into our lives and what we love about it. And of course, that goes for everyone watching the live chat as well. Was it love at first Laserdisc, Vital VHS? Hit us up in the chat and let us know how Stargate came into your lives. So, Kyle, do you remember the first time you got Stargated?
I actually believe I saw it in the theater when it came out.
Oh, do tell.
And I actually have to say, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't that impressed. It was kind of slow moving. But
see that?
On rewatching, I've gotten a further appreciation, and then of course I've watched all of Stargate SG-1, all of Stargate Atlantis. I've even seen some of Stargate Infinity Universe. Not my thing.
We are going to defer to you on all extra Stargate things, because I'm guessing Ian, like myself and Steve, has not seen any of the other Stargate.
Oh, you need to watch. You definitely need to watch.
You know, it's we'll get into a deep dive of that, because I kind of want to hear your summary of sort of what the takes of these other Stargates are. But at what age would you say it was, or what time, whatever you're more comfortable telling, was it that you started to turn in favor of Stargate? What time period were you like, oh, you know what, I do appreciate this? Is it when like the later shows came out, or
it was after the later shows came out and watching? I mean, you have Richard Dean Anderson taking over the role that Kurt Russell started.
He should have been there in the movie. I'm just gonna say it already.
He's kind of like TV's. He's kind of like TV's Kurt Russell. You know.
No, you kind of like
the
I feel
best thing I've ever heard you say, Steve.
That
is literally the best thing you've ever said.
And then you had Michael Shanks taking over for James Spader, but I mean, I'm not dissing Kurt Russell or James Spader, because they are both excellent actors. Obviously, Richard Dean Anderson and Michael Shanks had a lot more time with these characters to really flesh them out and bring us into the Stargate world. And so they are my favorites. But if Kurt Russell had decided to, do the actual TV show, which, with what he probably commands as paychecks, wouldn't have happened. But had he done it, I'm sure he would have owned the role. But I urge anyone who has not seen Stargate SG-1, you need to watch it. Two actors from the movie ended up in the series, but they were like minor actors.
Okay.
I always love when TV shows do that. When they give credit to like some little small.
Yeah, they just pluck two of the the random characters out of the.
Take scale. You can
just
be
to bring it in.
You can
Who
be
are the two characters that they pulled out?
I hope it's the guy. I hope one of them is the guy from Encino Man, who's like
squeezing the juice guy. Yeah.
I don't know. He played Skara in the movie and in the show.
Oh, okay.
I think is that the kid?
That's
his
the
son?
young kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The kid that Kurt Russell gives the lighter to. Which is, again, like that scene bothered me then, and I don't even know if I understood it, but it really bothers me now, and for a multitude of reasons. I'll circle back to that scene eventually, because I want to know about the first time Steve got Stargated.
I don't think I saw this in theaters. I think I rented this and because I've seen it twice. Once I think I rented it somewhere in the mid 90s and watched it by myself in a dark room. And then I remember that. And then I watched it yesterday. And I will say
in a dark room by himself.
In a dark room by myself. And I will say this. So it really held. So I agree with you, Kyle, in the sense that, like, I think I remember watching it initially and not being all that impressed by it. And upon rewatch, I think I feel like when I first watched it, it took like 45 minutes for them to even get into anything. That's what it felt. That's what I remembered anyway. And then upon rewatching it, they start Stargating fucking 5 minutes out. Like they get into it. I was surprised.
They Stargate pretty fast and loose. At least to get things kicked on. How did Ian get Stargated? The young Iowa Ian, what gas station pizza led you into this Stargate?
This was in Wellman, Iowa. This was at Slagle's Pharmacy. I know I've talked about that on the show before, where it was actually a legitimate, like, old school pharmacy with like a soda fountain, and a counter and the pharmacy in the back. But in the front, they had VHS rentals. And I remember renting Stargate because it was next to a movie that had Sean Connery on the cover, but it was a sequel. And years later, I realized it was Highlander 2, but I would always look at that cover, but I had no idea what this movie was.
What kind of alphabet?
Into one little point in time.
I know, but it's fascinating because
how does Stargate wind up next to Highlander
1 on the shelf?
Because
they had Highlander 2.
Highlander 2, yeah.
But you're not in a video store. You're in a what did you say it was?
It's a pharmacy. Yeah. So it was just like whatever they had on the shelf was what they had.
Apparently, chaos from the sound of things.
Yeah, but
were there any video stores in Iowa at all, or is it just?
I mean, there was, but like in small town Iowa, you didn't have a Blockbuster. I mean, you barely had mom and pop video stores, but like the grocery store had a rental section, or like I said, the gas station had some VHSs, but it would be like, what I remember is it would be like new releases, and then they would sell those off. So, they'd have it for a year and then sell it off. So it wasn't like you had a back section of older movies. You just had, like to this day, I remember my mom's Casey's. I remember being in kindergarten and seeing the VHS of Dolls. I didn't know it was Dolls then. I just remember the VHS of the little girl with the holding eyes, like that. But that was like new release, was a sticker on the cover, and stuff like that. So Slagle's had like, whatever was brand new of that year, Nowhere to Run. I rented Nowhere to Run with Van Damage, like I rented that from Slagle's. I remember Cliffhanger, like I'd rent whatever was brand new, when I had an extra dollar, kind of thing. But I remember I rented Stargate and totally didn't get it. Didn't get it. Had no clue what this is about. This made no sense to me. I, didn't have ancient alien theory in the back of my mind while I was watching this. Like, it was just like, oh, hey, there's that guy from Overboard and the villain from Mannequin, and they're going through a pool. Like it just made no sense to me at that age. And then, years later, when I was, when I was older and more of a, started to be able to like collect DVDs and stuff, I remember getting the special edition of Stargate and appreciating it way more, then than I did when I was a little kid.
So this is something that I've uncovered like really just today, that the special edition has more scenes. It's like a different cut. We get into this Blade Runner Highlander 2 territory with fans are like, oh, well, that's the real cut. That's what we should have got, this and that. So I've been curious, and I'm sure Kyle, you can probably speak to this as well. but do you guys have a preference of cut? Because I've only seen the theatrical cut myself.
I don't recall what the differences are, to be honest. I think I've seen, when I was in the theater, obviously I saw the theatrical cut.
Right,
But,
obviously.
But then with the I'm pretty sure I picked up like the special edition version when I got it on DVD and rewatched it. And I'm not sure. I've seen it a few times. Because I went back after watching 10 seasons of SG1 and 5 seasons of Atlantis.
Wow.
And
You hardcore bastard.
That is a lot.
10
You are
seasons,
hardcore.
man.
Oh,
wild.
It's not a poor thing at all. Though eventually Richard Dean Anderson decides he doesn't want to work as much. He wants to spend more time with his family. So he's on the show less. And that was a shame because all due respect to Ben Browder and Claudia Black, but really, Richard Dean Anderson, him being there, his snarky comments, you know.
Certain sometimes like a loss to a show is something that you can never really recover from. I feel like Michael Rosenbaum leaving Smallville was like, they did some of their best stuff after he was gone, but I just can't help but think about how much better it would have been had he also been there. You know?
From my understanding, Chris, I think the theatrical cut has a lot more of the initial flashback from 1920, whatever, when they first uncovered the
I could see
the
that.
Stargate, as it were. Yeah, like I think there's a lot more of that.
I would hate
that. At least that's what doing the little bit of research I did for this today. At least that's what I uncovered. That there was a lot more in the beginning with the flashback.
Okay, curious.
You know, they eventually did a web series that basically explored when they found the Stargate.
Oh wow!
With Connor Trenier, who was actually in Stargate Atlantis as a villain character, like an alien villain. But he actually plays the professor in the web series as well. So, but since he's not wearing makeup and not made up to, you know, kill people, you know, it's a little bit better.
Okay. And now in all the Stargate shows and whatever, are they still going to the same planet? This might be a stupid question. No. It's different planets, different aliens, different races and stuff.
Basically, what they did with Stargate SG-1, it was a direct sequel to the movie.
Okay.
Though with obviously the recasting, and when they go back to the planet and find Daniel, he has found a whole wall of just lists and lists of Stargate coordinates. And now that they have all these 7-character phone numbers, they can go wherever they want in the
okay,
to all these different planets. It's interesting. It was very, if you recall, in the movie when they went through, they came out, they were shivering because their molecules were compressed and re-expanded, and that apparently caused cold stuff. And that was what they had in Stargate SG-1 at first, and then they quickly like abandoned that as a concept. It just stopped happening.
Okay.
The kind of in-universe explanation for that is that their makeshift dialing device, because they don't have an alien device that actually called a DHD device, they made their own. And they basically made refinements, so now it doesn't happen that you get all cold. So
that was one day, and one of the actors was like, I am tired. I have diarrhea. Shoot the effing scene. Let's go. That is what happened. I know it. I just know that is what happened that day.
Yeah. Well, it's briefly mentioned in the movie when he comes through, he starts feeling a little weird. One of the guys immediately is like, "Go get used to it. You'll get used to it in a second." It's like, why would you know?
So
why would you know that, Sergeant Bob?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
By the way, the 2 actors who were in the movie, Alexis Cruz was Skara, and actually he was on a panel, a virtual panel that I did with Wizard World, so it's on Fandom Spotlite. So he was one of the actors from Stargate that I got to talk to. Very nice guy, awesome guy. And then Eric Avare. Are you familiar with him?
That's the guy.
That's the
from
Wheeze and the Juice guy.
Juice guy
From Encino Man.
Yeah. Then
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Deeds. He's in a million
Yes.
things.
Yeah. He's in a ton of stuff. Yes.
Yeah. He's like a character actor extraordinary. He's been in so much, but
yeah, he's great. He's absolutely great.
Mr. Deeds. He was in The Mummy.
I have to grab my cat real quick. I think he's got trapped inside the plastic.
Take care of your cats. I have 5 of those motherfuckers. I locked them out of this room. So
it's a good move. I did the same.
I will
with
say
this
this:
one.
Stargate seems on paper a better TV show than it did a movie.
Mm.
I will say that I remember thinking this probably should have been a better TV show, but it's fast. But it fascinates me though. Fandom, right? It's like the weirder the show, the more hardcore fans it has to get. So, I keep thinking like Star Trek is the most plain peanut butter and jelly sandwich you can get, right? Like it satisfies, it makes sense. It's good capital, it's good communism.
Star Trek, this is?
Yeah, Star Trek. Like it's good communism on paper. Like it works, right?
Communism.
Okay.
Why are you saying communism about Star Trek? It is.
It totally is.
That went over my head. I haven't rewatched. I mean, are you talking about the original series right now?
Yeah. I'm talking about all that.
I mean, they have no money. They, basically,
it works.
everything is provided. They have universal health care.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right,
yeah.
Hold on, the dog is barking. I will continue.
Oh my god,
thought.
you people and your pets.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
That's okay. I'm not sure where Ian was going with that anyway.
Well, it's all right. My cat's going back for that.
He was saying Stargate was better as a TV show, and
that's
I will
true.
say,
yeah,
the TV show rocked. I mean, they started out from the perspective of coming off the movie, so you went back to the same planets, but then they introduced more Egyptian gods and an explanation of all that stuff. And
is the kind of Egyptian theme sort of present throughout? That kind of keeps brand wise, I feel like, or tone wise,
right? Well,
do they venture out beyond that?
Well, yes, they touch on other mythologies, but basically, what is revealed in the series is that the alien Ra is a Goa'uld, which is an alien, basically a symbiote parasite that gets put into a human, and basically then the parasite takes over, and they have technology that keeps them young. And they came to Earth and were acting as gods to the early Egyptians and such.
Okay. Well, it's kind of in the movie too, right? Yeah, that's
yeah. So, but they go more into the mythology, and then what these creatures are, and
well, that's cool. I would have liked to. I would have liked to have gotten more of that. One of my biggest problems.
That's what I was saying. Like, and again, sorry for interruption there, but like like I said, Star Trek was like the peanut butter and jelly. Shows like Stargate and Farscape, it's like they had to be such complicated sandwiches that if you're hungry and you want to eat that sandwich, like you gotta go through a lot to make it. And that's what Stargate and Farscape and Babylon 5, like that's just what they always came to me. They were just too complicated sandwiches, and
they weren't easily accessible to the that dabble in sci-fi.
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, Doctor Who is kind of like a sub sandwich. Like you gotta go down the corner, but you can eat it, you can stomach it.
You can't just pick up on an episode and know what you're watching.
SG1, it's like you gotta go to Cordon Bleu. You spend $500,000 to get that chef's hat in order to get in. Well,
before I watched the whole series, I had caught a couple episodes. I'm like, this is really cool. Of course, I'm a sci-fi guy, so it's like, I didn't get all the concepts. I picked up a lot from context, but I didn't get all the concepts. And then watching from the beginning, it was such a rich tapestry that they wove. So
sure, and a lot of lore too, I'm sure.
Well, and what I appreciate now, having I've read, because of, shows like Ancient Aliens, which I love, and
I do too. I love that show.
Being somebody who, I fully admit that I don't know what is what. I don't know, to me, an alien is a pond on Mars, anything could be anything, but there's got to be something else out there. So, I watch Ancient Aliens, and then, after watching Ancient Aliens, I read Chariots of the God. After reading Chariots of the God, I went back and watched Stargate and kind of went, hey, actually this kind of, okay, now this is kind of a cool concept. This idea of the Egyptian gods and being helped, being helped to become who we are, and these ideas are a little bit more accessible to me now than I was when I was 10.
Right. Well, Star Trek originally kind of touched on that concept with Who Mourns for Adonis when they introduced Apollo as an alien who had visited Earth along with the other Olympians in the past. So it was a very similar. So Stargate was an entirely, or ancient alien stuff was adopted into sci-fi or vice versa years earlier than Stargate.
Yeah. I think I get your point though, Ian, not knowing about any of the Ancient Aliens ideas or concepts or whatever, and seeing this movie originally didn't seem as interesting of an idea, but now after kind of knowing about that as a concept in general, it makes it more interesting.
Which is why I think Stargate is a kind of a weird categorized movie. It's not action enough to be an action movie, but it's so sci-fi heavy that it's not
this movie,
but it's not intellectual enough to be Blade Runner or
it's not Contact.
Something like that. Yeah,
it's not Blade
Event
Runner.
Horizon.
It's not Contact. It was a weird middle ground that people. I always say people don't like that. Bob in Ohio does not like movies like Stargate.
Yeah, give me action, my action.
Bad.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't. It feels like it didn't really know what it wanted to be a lot of the time. I mean, it's scored like an action adventure movie, and it's really kind of off-putting. That's one thing I noticed upon rewatching it.
Yeah,
the score in general is good, but not for this movie. It doesn't. Yeah, it's scored it literally looks like it took the template off an Indiana Jones movie and stuck it in this, and it's just not the vibe. It's not that, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of the characters, I like when actors generally play against type, against cast, but in this particular movie, you got James Spader, and you have
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, thank you. Sorry, I lose my mind. And you just have these guys playing completely against type, and you kind of want to see Kurt Russell, and you never really get it. You get a little bit at the end, but you want to see James Spader. It's his general creepy, weird self, and instead he's this heartfelt, sweet
meek
guy, and meek guy, and even with some of the side casting, you're gonna put homeboy from Third Rock from the Sun. You're gonna put
French Stewart
in it or whatever, and he's not French stewarding at all. I mean, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you have all these great. You got oh God, why can't I remember anyone's name in this podcast or whatever? You got Spin City. You got Richard Kind. Yeah, you got Richard Kind in it for 2 seconds. I was so stoked when he showed up, and you're not letting him Richard Kind, and it kind of. You kind of.
But they did in the Stargate series because.
No, they did. That's awesome. That's
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, because what they did in the movie was very unkind. I was not a fan. You don't
Chris,
side.
Chris, you did not explain your first experience with
No, exactly. I was about to get to that.
Sorry.
You for no problem. Thank you for reminding me. It was
Nobody cares about Chris. What?
That's true. No one does. In fact, so before I do that, I do want to catch up in the live chat as well. So let's see who tuned in tonight for Stargate. We got Miyagi-Do Forever, Mikey Riffraff, the Mashup Genius, Carlene Gonzalez, Angie Saunders, the other Mashup Genius, Louis Wagner, Whiskey 41, Dustin Nino from Retro Fiends Radio, Gold's Code. Oh, Sean Gold is back. Oh, we missed you, buddy. So Whiskey 41 says, oh, yes, we all did, especially you, Ian. Whiskey 41 says, I saw it in a theater in Central Florida while visiting a friend who moved away. That actually sounds very like heartwarming to hear. Steve was that friend who moved away when I was a kid, so we saw all kinds of funny movies to mark the times of our lives as I would visit New Jersey. Anyway, Andrew Saunders says, I watched it Nevermore, which I think is Angie for I never watched it. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, Angie. We really appreciate you.
Spoilers.
Dustin Nino from Retrofiend, makers of the finest canon and martial arts docs on the internet. I hope he's going to pitch some canon versions of a Stargate movie, because that would be incredible. But he says the first time he saw this was a double feature rental with Tombstone with the whole fam. It was a early 90s evening with Kurt Russell. That is actually
that's far out.
Pretty fun. You know what? You pretty much do any 2 Kurt Russell movies and you're gonna have a fun time. Let's see. Gold's Code. My favorite part of the movie was when Mitchell bladed across the universe while being chased by Anubis. Oh, I love it. Anubis. Oh, did I say that wrong? Well, good Lord. Anubis. Sorry.
It's Anubis. Anubis wasn't in the film.
That's I'm showing my Midwest. Hey, you got that
Anubis.
Anubis.
But actually,
this Anubis guy.
Anubis was not in this film. It was totally raw. So you are totally failure as a geek, my friend.
I would like a gyro with this Egyptian things here.
Yeah, that Anubis there, he's a good guy. Gold's Codes saw this movie in theaters and it was dope. Also says I prefer the VCR Redux cut without Ian, but yeah, you know, Forever says our video rental store was in a laundrette. That's fucking cool.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. See?
Yeah, I've rented movies from a gas station. I never fucking ate pizza from one, but I definitely rented a lot of movies from like a mobile in the 76.
Life, sir.
You know? No, I lived plenty of life.
Some people pop campaign, and some people, fart soda. That's you. Like, it's a habit.
Well, I've had pizza in places that would make you Stargate, so you just watch it, sir. Gold Code also, as RA said,
what if that's there's a
someone.
version of this movie out there called Stargate, and it has a whole different meaning. All right.
Oh man,
the Van Nuys edition.
I am so there for it. So there. Gold Code has already said, you have come here to destroy me, so Ian, I am sending this weapon back to the VCR Redux with a mineral that will multiply its power. I created the pitches, now I will destroy them. Some love for Rufus in the live chat. Glad to see he's getting recognized. Give my regrets to
you mean Rufus?
Rufus, my bad.
Rufus.
Rufus. I'll get to my first time seeing Stargate now. The year was 1994. The mid-90s were a cultural time of being as lost as possible. Kurt Cobain had, I think, recently said goodbye to this world one way or the other. And my dad drags myself and my good childhood friend, Larry Hayek, to see Stargate. I had no fucking idea what a Stargate was or why we were going to see it. But there I was. And I had this aversion to movies that take place in the sand. I kind of still do. I'm not going to lie. I haven't matured that much.
The Mummy?
I've never seen it. I've still never seen it.
Yeah, I know. And we're doing it on the show.
Yeah, I know. We're going to do it on the show just so Steve can make me watch it. And,
what movie?
Watch all of them.
Three
The
of
Mummy.
The Mummy.
Isn't there? There's only 3?
Not the Tom Cruise one.
Yeah, there's only 3. The Brendan Fraser mummies.
What the
B. Fraser
watch? Oh, we don't have to watch Scorpion King. Okay, good.
No,
no,
you'll be fine. No, we don't need that.
We're not that cruel, Chris.
Yeah,
okay. I appreciate that. I could breathe a sigh of relief. So, 10-year-old me goes to see Stargate, and I'm like, why? I'm sure there was other movies out that weekend that I would have rather seen, like Goofy Movie or something. But it's one of those. It's such a dad movie, especially like my dad. This was like right up his alley. So I remember distinctly thinking of Spader as like the sleazy guy at this stage of life, because I had seen Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Bad Influence, and I didn't even really connect the dots that he was also that guy from Mannequin. So I just thought of him as like, and I had seen I think Crash, Cronenberg's Crash.
Gosh.
So, which is a great fucking movie. But so I thought of Spader as like this kind of cable guy. Like I sort of put him in with like Jeff Fahey and Sherilyn Fenn. I'm like, this is like sort of like a softcore actor. What's he doing in this big budget movie? You know? And I I wasn't wowed by Russell's performance in this either. I'm not gonna lie. In fact, I will go so far as to say that this is maybe the greatest misuse or the greatest waste of Kurt Russell in a movie.
That's what I was saying before. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, you have this guy who's got charisma, oozes charisma, and you're having him do something that Mel Gibson would do better. My son is dead. I have nothing to live for. And, Mel Gibson does that stuff and it's a lot more fun. That's just, I feel like that's the difference between those two actors right there. And, Kurt Russell, he's not that he's not a great actor, but he's really more of a movie star. And I feel like he doesn't get to do movie star shit in this. And the one scene I remember the most from this movie, I will have to say this. The scene where Kurt Russell gives the kid a fucking cigarette. I'm a smoker who's on some weird other world through a Stargate. I don't know if I'll ever get back, but sure, take one of my last cigarettes. I don't know if I'll ever get more. Take my lighter too. Like, says no smoker ever. I guarantee you that Death Wish Kurt Russell, the one thing he enjoys still in this life are those cigarettes. And it would have made more sense to me if the kid took one and he was ready to kill him for touching the cigarettes, some hobo with a shotgun shit. You're crushing my smokes, like, give me some of that. Somebody's got to have some fun in this movie. But yeah, I mean, it sort of feels a little bit paint by numbers ish. It's sort of forced, and maybe because I had an aversion to sand movies. It didn't connect with me then.
Well, you're gonna love the Mummy series.
I didn't rewatch it until yesterday, and I gotta say it didn't really connect with me yesterday either. But score wise, to your point, Steve, the score is tonally off at least 95% of the time in this movie. It's just trying too hard. Every time I hear the music kick in, I'm just like, sure, Jan. They're like, this is epic and we're doing stuff. And I'm just like, sure we are.
I think
they would have been, I'm just saying they would have been better suited to have a more high-tech score. Brad Fiedel, a Harold Faltermeyer,
more sci-fi,
sci-fi score
done by the right guy that did Alien 3.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I know James Horner did too. Jerry Goldsmith.
No, it's like Elliot Gold something.
Elliot Gold is an actor.
No, I know. I'm trying to think of he did the soundtrack for like Pet Sematary. He also did the soundtrack for Alien 3. His music is more like it's more moody. It's more it's more ethereal than this music, which I mean, well, let's be honest, like, we got to talk about Roland Emmerich. I mean, if you're gonna address
sure,
of course,
Roland Emmerich,
Elliot Goldenthal
is a very he's a director that has gotten so pegged in the blow up the earth, like this, he got George Romero. It's like they'll only let him do movies where he blows up the world, and then they yell at him for blowing up the world.
Disaster movies. Yeah, he is the king of disaster movies.
Yeah, it's like Moonfall came out last year. It's like, oh, well, another one of the Roland Emmerich destroy the world things. Well, that's all
ironically
do. I mean, what do we expect him to do?
Ironically, though, his whole career was built off of really the success of one film in which he does not blow up the world. Yeah, it's all built off of Universal Soldier, You don't get to Stargate without Universal Soldier, and you don't get to fucking Independence Day without Stargate. So it's not like he went from Making Contact to Independence Day. But that's I love true. Making Contact.
I am a Roland Emmerich apologist. I'm not gonna lie.
Steve is. Yes, he is.
I enjoy a lot of more of his work than I probably should.
So but, I love his work up to Independence Day, minus the original Stargate. I gotta say, sorry. But
Stargate, the original movie, did have issues other than the score, which Gold's Code is like. Yeah. That score was awesome. You kidding? But he also doesn't like Ian, and sometimes I can see Ian. But,
he thinks I pay attention.
But one of the things I noticed and that they fixed in the series is some of the special effects. They lingered on them too long. Some of the technology, was so slow. Like the rings.
There's a bit of Lawnmower Man in there. Yeah, at its worst, this movie, when it's really not working, it's Lawnmower Man in the sand. And that
It's
is
Lawnmower Man in the Sand. That is a quote for the poster if I ever heard one right there.
Like some of those
special
early
effects go, yeah.
Those early overly ambitious CG things when people get like de-rezzed and shit. It's like, yeah, we should have slowed that down a little bit here. We should have paced ourselves.
Well, I get the impression that they made a cardinal sin, which happens in a lot of fan films, is they're so proud of their special effects. These are so cool that they linger on them.
Yes.
And it's like some of the technology, they sped it so much more quickly in the series because one, they had episodes to do and they couldn't have half an episode being the rings coming down one at a time. It was much faster, same technology, but faster. And yeah, the thing about special effects is to the characters, they shouldn't be special. Yeah. So that's why you just have to treat them like everyday,
well,
occurrences
that's
and just get through.
It's true. That's 100% correct. I think, that makes so much sense. And there's an example of this in Back to the Future 2, not to go too far on a detour, but there's the scene where they're all eating the pizza and it's like Michael J. Fox is playing himself. He's playing his son. He's playing his daughter.
Nobody hydrates a pizza like you.
They're all exactly. They're all eating off the same, pizza. And they shot it all in this one thing with the VistaVision camera, so you could expose different sections of the film at different times on different passes, and a motion control, the camera would repeat the same movement over and over again. At any rate, they had this elaborate thing, and they do this long shot of all these Michael J. Foxes eating pizza, and they realized, oh, wait a minute, this is not how you would shoot this scene. If this was just a scene with all different actors, you would have cuts and angles all over.
Mm-hmm.
This is like stupid. We're just doing this a dumb way to highlight a special effect. No, forget that. We're gonna, so they were really ambitious with this technology, and ultimately they kind of scrapped it a little bit, for the thing that they maybe needed it most for. But there still was a lot of really cool stuff done with the VistaVision. Two Michael J. Foxes, Michael takes the hat off of himself and puts it on. That's really well done. But getting back to Stargate, it is a little bit past pitch time. So I do want to hear everyone in the live chat's pitches, and I know there are some there already. And some food for thought for Kyle before we come back around to our pitches. Or just a short question, really. You could kind of answer this with a yes or no if you want to. But as someone who knows the other Stargates, would it be possible to do a Stargate Endgame? Like Highlander Endgame, where you like the movie and the TV show are now gonna these worlds are gonna collide. Would that be a possibility?
Actually, that was kind of my pitch. The Multiverse of Madness it'll be like the James Spader, Kurt Russell Stargate universe is actually separate from the Stargate SG-1 universe, and they run into each other.
I like
the thing
that.
is, I mean, these are These are wishes for things, but Richard Dean Anderson, there's a panel of him on Fandom Spotlite, shameless pitch, but he is he's not in a position where he could reprise the role of Colonel/General O'Neill. And even Kurt Russell, I mean, we saw him recently in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I mean, I could see him more reprising, like coming out as like a once again retired colonel.
Hey, he looks great. I mean, he could pull it off. Yeah.
And basically, I mean, they just ended the SAG strike. Yay. So they are allowing some stuff with AI. So possibly they could generate with his permission, and by giving him some money, I would hope, Richard Dean Anderson as a younger,
that would be cool,
Colonel O'Neill or General O'Neill. But I think it would be really cool to have them come together and have the Stargate in Kurt Russell's world activate, and it's been lying dormant for years, but instead of aliens coming through, it's like Michael Shanks and Amanda Tapping and Christopher Judge and maybe even Ben Browder from the TV series world coming through. And then you have a scene where they're like banging on a door and you hear, I'm coming. And it's Kurt Russell as O'Neill coming to the door like, what?
Yeah.
We gotta ask you some questions.
I refuse anything that doesn't have Robert Picardo in it.
Is he
Robert
on
Picardo
one of
is
the Stargate?
in Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis.
I was gonna say it's Atlanta. I thought he was just in the Atlantis one, which is the
No,
only
he
reason
is-
I wanted to like somewhat watch an episode is just because it's Robert Picardo. I'll watch anything with Robert Picardo. So
One thing,
And watch the interview with Robert Picardo here on Fandom Spotlight.
yes,
More shameless plugs.
Nice.
one thing you got to respect is that the one show ran for 10 years. I think the other one ran for 5. 15 years of television is like
I was going to say that is a good run.
an
Spears didn't
incredibly
even do
short list, like
So-
you're like who's 90210 hasn't done 15 years. Well, I guess if you count the 2000s show, whatever that
Nobody
was.
does.
Supernatural.
Nobody does.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Supernatural,
Hey.
Simpsons, like you're on a very short list.
Right.
But speaking of short lists, there is a short list of people who have pitched Stargate sequels in the live chat, so I want to check in with them. Alex Bonafonte has a pitch. Serious Stargate 2 pitch, he says. Direct sequel, ignores the TV show. A global killer meteor is headed towards Earth, and nothing can be done to stop it. The U.S. government attempts to keep the Stargate a secret while preservation of life operations are conducted. An assortment of Earth's most talented engineers begin terraforming operations on the other side. Water and fertile soil is discovered, and infrastructure construction begins. This is great. Educators, workers, military families, and doctors make the move secretly, but soon after the word of the meteor leaks, and an international panic ensues. Meanwhile, colonists have issues with a xenophobic set of puritanical natives, but diplomatic efforts are effective. As the preservation of art phase kicks off, cell phone footage of the Stargate leaks out. U.S. adversaries are upset and threaten to attack us. A bold Russian commando operation to take over the Stargate mountain base is successful, and Russians in U.S. uniforms make it through and try to play it cool. U.S. forces regain control of the mountain, but the Stargate is wired to go boom. The last group of select people and U.S. military commandos make it through just before the Earth is destroyed. Colonists are now held hostage by Russians, and natives are recruited to help in Stargate Exodus. That is a really awesomely intense.
Did you
pitch.
find like a spec script somewhere online?
Alex is a genius. He's been doing this the whole time we've had this show. He's been pitching incredible things, incredible.
That would be very cool.
So,
it does actually take some elements from the series because the Russians became aware of the Stargate, and we had to have a treaty with them. And Gary Chalk played Colonel Chekhov.
Well, what I like about
I was going to say, fun fact, because he was playing a Russian, they had this whole, and he doesn't speak Russian. He does the accent very well, but they gave him this whole monologue that he had to speak in Russian, and he learned it, basically by
phonetically.
Phonetically, he got it perfect. He's ready to go, and they're like, we're actually going to cut that scene. And he's like, are you kidding me?
Oh, that's so fucked.
I am doing the scene, whether you use it or not, I am doing it. So they actually have somewhere like,
oh, wow.
They shot the entire thing of him doing this, thing in Russian.
Wow.
So
awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Not that I'd want to follow that. Or do you want to read a couple more?
Well, I mean, if you have a comment about that, for sure, feel free to jump in. But I do want to say about that. What I like about it a lot is it starts out kind of Deep Impact, which is not my favorite movie, but it seems like a more interesting way of getting there. And already that intrigues me, and I feel like that's better than either one of those movies. But then it goes into a potential Red Dawn situation. And
a little bit. Yeah.
Wow. I think that's really interesting. And it has like almost this Walking Dead thing where it's like in a Stargate and end of times, it's really people that are going to fuck you over, not like some alien race invading,
Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting. I think that if written well, that could be genius. It's dark as fuck and it's ballsy. and maybe ballsier than anything that's been pitched in our live chat. And
That's
127 episodes on this show. The world ends. I mean, that's fucking wild.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty
actually, I'm
awesome.
reading a book right now which has a similar theme where these college students figure out a way. It's not a Stargate to another world, but they figure out a way to create a gate to other parallel worlds.
Oh, wow.
And as they are doing this, and they actually, their motivation for like going over to this parallel world, because they find one that is not inhabited by humans, is to go panning for gold, because they know where the gold is. And they go and they're like, they're actually getting gold to actually help finance their research. And so it makes sense. But then the super volcano of Yellowstone goes bam, and basically it's going to like wipe out humanity, and they're like rescuing people and bringing them through their portable Stargate type thing to this parallel world. So I'll have to find
awesome.
find the name of it.
I'm usually not a fan of volcano movies, but that sounds like fun.
There are some sand movies, not a fan of volcano movies.
I like what I like.
You're just not a fan of Roland Emmerich, huh?
No, I love Making Contact. I love Universal Soldiers, one of Van Damme's best movies. It's the best acting Dolph Lundgren's ever done. I don't care what anyone says. I'll say that. I'll die
come
on
on.
that hill.
I come in peace, and you'll go in pieces. Come on.
Yeah, all right. Tomato. Dustin Nino from Retrofiend Radio does have a canon pitch for us, though, so I'm very excited to hear his pitch. Chuck Norris and the rest of the Delta Force use the Stargate to travel to a dimension where
Sold.
where
Sold. You just had to say Delta Force, and I'm in.
So again, they travel to a dimension
Throw
where
in
they
some
have to...
Billy Drago, and it's over.
Can I read this pitch?
No, you can't. There's no need to. He just said it right there.
Kyle,
I got halfway through and you started gasming. So they have to travel to a dimension where they have to find Michael Dudikoff to rescue David Bradley from the aliens. Now you may speak. That was wonderful.
Stop bringing in the Dudikoff. No, I'm done with the Dudikoff.
Hey, Dudikoff, all you want. Okay, that's what we need.
Dudikoff. I like Bachelor Party. That's my Dudikoff. None of this American Ninja crap.
Not hate Dudikoff. Hey, like hey Dudikoff.
Hey, Dudikoff.
Hey dude. Hey Dudikoff. You know, dude, get the Dudikoff going all you want. I'm here for it. Get the David Bradley going all you want. Michael Dudikoff and rescuing David Bradley from aliens. Come on, that's fantastic. The only thing we haven't seen Dudikoff fight is probably aliens at this point.
Is that right?
In fact, I think Dudikoff actually. I've been thinking about this. I'm like, there's something wrong with Kurt Russell in this original Stargate movie, and I've been trying to think of for the last day who should have played that role, and it's been bugging me and bugging me and bugging me. And I think that's it. I think it should have been Dudikoff. Dustin Nino, you nailed it, and you might want to tune in next week if you're a Chuck Norris fan. Just a little tease. Just saying, hype things up.
No, this should have been an Arnold.
An Arnold.
Arnold should have been an Arnold. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he really plays grieving, father of dead kids.
Cares
now.
Cares.
They didn't even really need that. They didn't even really need that plot line. I guess to make him seem like he was suicidal, so he wouldn't mind staying back. That's why they reactivated him. That's the whole idea, right? That he would stay back and take himself
totally
out.
Unemotional and not like Kurt Russell at all.
And not like Kurt Russell at all. I have a bit of a pitch that kind of corrects at least the James Spader Kurt Russell issue I had with this. Okay. What if down the line the Stargate's reopening, weird shit's happening, they go through and you find out that James Spader, because of that mineral and all that shit just being from Earth, has lost his mind and is now he is the new Ra. He is taking over this thing. They got to go reactivate Kurt Russell.
I like that.
And then we can have James Spader as the villain he kills.
Help me, Jack! I don't know what I'm doing.
You could build off the thing like maybe one of the other tribes somehow they fucking killed his wife or something like that, or it's like he has
his whole family.
He went nuts and he started using the information.
The only person that knows that they
tapping at Ultron.
Tap into that. The only person they can get, obviously, is Kurt Russell, who's now has gotten over this and can be a little more Kurt Russell-y. He's like an old grizzled Kurt Russell. He's not so like deadpan serious.
Yeah.
And they could get French Stewart back. You can go with him.
Give me big
Stewart.
Give me Big Trouble, Little Russell. I mean, first of all, the sequel should be about just French Stewart. It should be French.
He's got to be a major. I wanted to take Richard Kind and French Stewart back into the Stargate this time and give him a real something to do. How are they going to get back? The second guy there in command was Richard Kind.
You ask how they're going to get back, and Sean
without Richard Kind, how are they going to get back? Because James Spader now has lost his mind in another planet.
Well, I'll tell you what. In the live chat, Sean Gold will tell you how they're going to get back because his pitch,
Sean? Tell me.
Upon beating the preps, Mitchell is recruited to venture into the Stargate and prevent Ray's successor from taking revenge on Earth using his blading skills. It's Starborn. Ra. What? Yeah, Ra. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry.
I believe we Starborn. We call that crop. So
I'm just saying, I would watch that Starborn over the Lady Gaga or even the Chris Christopherson Starborn. Stars
That's
Born.
A Star is Born.
Whatever, you know what I mean. That's the Starborn that we need.
So the only thing I thought of, and I know it's too Indiana Jones, but let's be honest, this is an Indiana Jones wannabe type of thing.
Yeah.
I actually it's so easy to say like, oh, we could do like a World War II where the Nazis steal the Stargate, right? I actually would love to see a World War II movie where it's the Japanese. And so I thought it'd be kind of interesting if the Japanese had gotten a hold of the Stargate.
Yeah. Okay.
And having a Japanese army time travel back to the Stargate time. And you kind of get these two kind of cultural war kind of happening.
But so the Japanese uncover the Stargate?
Yeah.
A different Stargate or the one that we uncover in present time in this movie? Okay, a different one. Okay. Continue.
Well, there is one down at the South Pole.
Yeah,
okay.
So it would be a different, because again, it would be so easy to do. Like, again, it's always in World War II. It's like the enemies are the Nazi. Like the Nazis have the technology and stuff. I've seen that before.
Why don't we have the Italians? Come on, Mussolini.
Or Mussolini, something.
Sure.
But there would be something really kind of cool about, just. Somebody who has a samurai in their background, and you have a samurai versus, this, the Stargate warriors, and with the stabs and all that kind of stuff. There's something. There's got to be some cool scenery with that. I don't know what the plot would be. I don't know where it goes with that, but I'm kind of like, my pitch would have always been like to take it on a TV show route, which they did. I mean, that Stargate seemed like a better, that's why
Quantum Leap. I mean, Quantum Leap that shit. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Highlander, the series was a whole way better, interesting idea than Highlander the movie.
Yes,
agreed.
Punisher probably works better as a series too.
Punisher, a better series than it would be a movie. Yeah, like there's some stories that allow itself to be a continuous thing, and Stargate definitely would have that. And we've kind of done this before, but if you had a Stargate through the years, which is kind of the Highlander idea, if you had Stargate stories throughout the world. I mean,
Stargate through time. Okay.
Stargate through time. I mean, like
every episode is different in an anthology series. You want a season of the witch, Stargate season of the witch.
Past and future. You could go anywhere with that one. I mean, you could have 2135.
You want the young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Kind of, yeah. And then, just how do different people utilize this this period? And then you could do, like I said, that idea I had with the Japanese in World War II. You could have a samurai from like that time period. You could have a future army that comes into it. You could have robots.
A big thing for me too would just be like these Stargates have to be left multiple different worlds, like you said they do in the show.
Yeah.
But that would be a huge thing, because in this movie, one of the biggest sins to me is going to an alien world and not showing me any alien shit. And like, this movie has those weird horses, and it's got a couple extra moons, and that's it. And that's other than that, we're the Mojave Desert for this movie. And like, I need more shit. I need more crazy creatures. I need more.
I time travel, and you give me the crying game. That's all I get.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
SG-1 does have some aliens, but it does suffer from the Star Trek effect, that because of budget they can't have like aliens all the time.
Right.
Aliens.
There's maybe a couple humanoid aliens. Some blue guy comes out of something.
A blue guy.
I do want to catch up with the live chat, but before I do, you made an interesting point watching the movie yesterday, Steve. You're like, why, all these movies try and do this Star Wars thing with the 2 moons, and none of them ever seem to pull it off. And you're like, I wonder why that is. And we, again, repeating what we were talking about, but the reason it works in Star Wars is because that scene works without any moons in it. That's just a good scene. People get that. It's a character connecting moment. They get what the character's going through. He's kind of, bogged down. He's trapped.
Sons?
Yeah, the 2 suns.
Yeah.
The 2 suns, 2 moons, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. But people rip that off from Star Wars, and it never works. Oh, okay. Tomato, yeah. You get the point. It works in Star Wars because the scene works on its own.
That's the Kyle in this Star Wars, man. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, excuse me. At any rate, getting back to the fucking chat. Alex Bonafonte has a silly pitch for Stargate 2. His silly pitch is Richard Dean Anderson's is estranged from his firstborn son for decades, since the death of his youngest son, Junior, has gone to become an incredibly decorated soldier himself. He's also quite the singer, engineer, escape artist, and former college football player as well. When Eastern Europe's most wanted terrorist is able to pass through the Stargate, Richard Dean Anderson is held hostage, and only one man can save the day. His son, in MacGruber 2, penetrate the Stargate.
Penetrate the Stargate.
I do like Will Forte. I'm just going to say that.
I do too.
Yeah. Scott 4X says, we don't have a movie after Stargate Atlantis. What do we do with Atlantis after it reached Earth?
Kyle?
Interesting. Kyle,
Kyle,
thank you.
In the chat, they had planned to do a follow-up movie because, spoilers, the city of Atlantis, which was in another galaxy, it was a city, but it's also a ship. That's no moon. It's a space station type thing. It was a ship, and they managed to get it to Earth, and it landed outside San Francisco, I think. I may be wrong, but they're basically sitting there. It's built to float as well. So they're sitting there, but they have the cloak up so that no one on Earth can see them. And they're just sitting on the edge of, the city of Atlantis, looking over at the Golden Gate Bridge. They were going to do a follow-up movie where they basically recharged it and it went back into space and, explained what happened from there. For whatever reason, they didn't greenlight it. Maybe the Stargate follow-up movies that they did didn't do as well as they had hoped, or maybe it was a change of management. I'm not sure why, but they didn't follow up on that.
Well, because these are on Sci-Fi Channel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sci-Fi Channel.
And then Sci-Fi Channel decided to do Star Trek Universe, which has its fans. And maybe they decided to put the budget towards that.
Yeah.
I was never a big fan of Stargate Universe. It had a lot of similar concepts, but they decided to see Stargate SG-1 and even Stargate Atlantis was about the mythology and what's actually behind the mythology. And it was very story driven, whereas they wanted to make Stargate Universe very character interaction driven. And there was a story, but they were not throwing in mythology. They were just, and they decided to make Stargate Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
Because of all the character dynamics on Battlestar Galactica. They're like, we can just apply this to Stargate and people will eat it up. They'll have 2 awesome things, Battlestar Galactica style plot lines and, and the name Stargate, which is, pretty much, I mean, again, people were fans of it, but I did not like a lot of the characters. I just didn't like. They were like, why would you have this army guy who is, while he's supposed to be on duty, screwing around with his senator's daughter? What the hell? This is not my Stargate. So
it doesn't sound like Stargate.
No, it was. They had a couple appearances by people from the other Star, like Michael Shanks was in it briefly. Robert Picardo was in it briefly.
I'm in.
So I want the Brian De Palma version. I want Scargate. I want Al Pacino. I want cocaine, like Hunter S. Thompson. I want like the drugged version of a Stargate movie, whatever that would be.
You got it. It's called Mission to Mars.
I don't know. I don't remember.
No, it's called Space Milkshake. No, that's a totally different movie.
But I'm just saying, Al Pacino staring into a mountain of cocaine that's on the other side of the Stargate with that blank stare in his face would be quite, yeah. You fucking with me? You fucking with the best, Raw.
No, you want a Paul Verhoeven Stargate.
Yes, I do want a Paul Verhoeven Stargate, for sure. An Oliver Stone Stargate.
No, Scent of a Stargate. Ooh-ah! Hey.
The Stargate's no fucking good, and it never was. Wow.
I can't even see it. Am I cold? Am I not cold? What's going on?
But
they're not aliens.
Cold. I'm
too blind.
Too fucking tired. Take a flamethrower to this Stargate. So we are almost out of time, but I do have to ask Ian, what do you think that time travel revisionist history sequel would be? If we'd gotten the sequel in 97 or 98, what would that have been? I mean, I guess we did, and it was the show. But if we had gotten a theatrical movie,
the revisionist 97 was the Stargaters come here. I mean, that literally, it's an invasion movie.
Yeah, I think it would have been like Stargate in Vegas. You know, it would have been set in a big city or something.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been independent, but it would have been Independence Day with Kurt Russell.
So that is like the sequel to this movie.
Big Ben, Parliament.
Yeah. we got
you know, like, but like that.
Yeah,
basically, that to me would have been, you know, the crying game didn't die. He's back. And you know, I don't know the actor. I just know that it's the game person. You know,
that doesn't surprise me.
But they didn't die, or there's a cousin or sister. Or, you know, it's Fright Night Part 2 rules. You know, like whatever. But like they come in, they invade, and you know we have to somehow send them back through the Stargates. And there's like a big giant Stargate on the moon. You know, that opens up that, Brent Spiner is in charge of, and Bill Pullman's like, I didn't know about this. You know, well, actually, in fact, Independence Day probably was Stargate 2 script.
Yeah, he was probably working on that. It was like, I'm going to take this in a little.
Yeah, you know, like, I should have known about this. You know, why was I informed? We didn't think you were ready. Yeah.
I will say, to add to Sean Gold's airborne pitch, the cousin or sister or brother of Ra could be called Bra, and Sha Bra. So there could be some serious rollerblading to go down. And also in the chat, Whiskey 41, Cheech and Chong's Stargate still tripping, which I'm 100%.
Look at this. We go through the gate and there's all this weed.
throw in some high-tech Greek mythology, and it's got everything I need.
Yeah, Stargate's cold. Where are we at? Dave's not here.
I think I got a Stargate in my pocket.
Ra's not here, man.
Hey, Ra's not here, man.
Ra's not here.
I get high. I get hungry.
Ra's not here, man.
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, guys, is there anything you've all got coming up in the works? Want to let the people at home know about? Anything Fandom Spotlight wise, articles, Crash Romeo wise? Steve, don't all go at once now.
Soon,
Ian, if you want to talk about your article,
there'll be a new B movie challenge for the classic 1950s AIP Blood of Dracula, or I Was a Teenage Vampire Woman.
Well played.
Cool.
Well
Very
played.
cool.
Definitely going to read
the
that
next day or so.
Cool.
one. Ooh,
I happen to know this. I have insider information on the publishing. That's right. That's right. I'm the guy in the know.
Well, any panels or anything else coming up on the channel soon, Kyle?
We're still putting out a few of the New Jersey HorrorCon panels. And because the SAG-AFTRA strike is over, we have two Sasha Dewan panels from Li Who that I can now release because the strike is over.
Oh, good.
So look for those soon. If you don't know who that is, he is the new actor who is playing the Master on Doctor Who.
Ah.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
So
very cool. Excellent.
awesome.
Well,
keep an eye out for that.
also, yes, and you Fandom fans might want to come back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. when we go out there and win this thing for our Sidekicks episode.
Oh,
as always,
God.
that's
Are
right.
We seriously
It's right.
finally doing Sidekicks.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
The
Chris, you must
time
be
has
Gil
so
come.
Gerard in
excited.
that, or am I thinking something different?
Was who in that?
Gil Gerard.
I don't. I'm not sure if I don't know who I know.
Anybody
Gil
who
Gerard.
was in it doesn't even remember
Buck
being
Rogers.
in that movie.
I don't think so. But as
Norris
always,
didn't even know he was in a movie. They just filmed around him.
well, I think the fact that it was written and directed by his brother Aaron Norris, I think he might just remember it a little bit.
I doubt it.
As always, if you enjoyed this video, the best way to help is to smash that like button and leave a comment telling us what movie or TV show that you want us to cover on a future episode of VCR Redux.
Can
And
we do
since you're
Delta
already doing
Force
that,
3?
you might as well go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow Fandom Spotlight, the Hollow 9 Network, and Pop Culture Punk.
Pentagon 4.
Till then, back up those Betamax, rewind those Laserdiscs, and we'll see you
President's
at the
Man
movies.
7. I mean, anything but that.